Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children over the age of 18. I'm Ortez, and that's my main man, Travis, and we're back with another episode of Your Favorite LOs. And today, we're going to be going over the 4 C's of home ownership. So, grab a pen and a piece of paper and your favorite beverage, and we'll be right back to get into that. See you in a second. All right, welcome back, everybody. And as stated, we're going to be going ahead and diving into the 4 C's of home ownership and what that means in regards to getting a mortgage. So you may be sitting there asking yourself, 4 C's? What are the 4 C's? Well, you're tuning in and we're going to break that down for you. So let's go ahead and get right into it. First up, we have credit. Then we have your collateral. Next, we have capacity. And last but not least, we have capital, aka cash. All right, we're going to go over each of these C's so that way you're more informed in regards to actually purchasing a home and getting qualified. All right, so let's go ahead and dive right into it. I will go ahead and start off with the credit. Okay, folks. So when it comes to your credit, it's pretty basic, right? One of the things that we look at, we pull what's called a tri-merged credit report. Okay. And this is basically we look at 3 different bureaus when it comes to your credit. We look at Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian, right? And each of those credit bureaus has their own algorithm in which they use to generate your credit score. And what we use is the score that we use is the middle of all 3 of those scores. And also with credit, what we look at is also your credit profile, right? So we look at all of the debts that you have showing on there, whether or not bankruptcies, foreclosures, or short sales are on there, any tax liens or judgments that may appear on your credit, as well as reviewing your credit with you. So that way we can see what it is that we can fix together to make sure you have the most optimal credit profile when it comes to being ready to be a homeowner. Okay. So credit isn't really that deep in regards of a concept. However, when it comes to your actual personal profile, digging deep and making sure you know ahead of time what is on your credit will always be a benefit to you in regards to getting pre-approved for a mortgage. One thing I do suggest to all of my clients is if you don't know what's on your credit, you should, right? So you're more than welcome to, if I'm not mistaken, you can request a free credit report at freecreditreport.com. Or you can log on to Experian.com. So at least that way with that bureau, you're able to get a copy of your credit. So that way you can see what actually is on your credit report, as well as what is affecting your credit score. And we're going to talk about that topic as far as credit in another video. But that's the first C that we want to discuss in regards to the 4 C's of home ownership. With that being said, Trav, did I miss anything in regards to credit?
Credit is obviously a very deep concept, and I think it's absolutely going to be one of those ones where you're going to want to grab one of our more in-depth videos on just credit. That's a fantastic overview of what we're looking at. One thing that you mentioned is you are entitled to 1 free copy of your credit report every year. What some people will do is they will access those bureaus every 4 months directly. Experian, TransUnion, Equifax, get a report directly every 4 months. And that's just your 1 report per year. So essentially you can get 3 reports without having to pay for it. But great rundown on the credit, Tez. Let's get into the second C, which is just collateral. Another very basic term, another what I think is probably way more misunderstood term than it really should be. Collateral in the sense of a mortgage and purchasing a home, the collateral is the home. The collateral is what a lien is placed on. A mortgage places a lien on your home. Couple of things that you're going to look at when it comes to collateral and how it pertains to those 4 C's. The first and foremost is the value of the home, which will be often taken with a full appraisal if it's a purchase. We are getting appraisal waivers nowadays, not nearly as much as we did in the past. Those things kind of come and go. Essentially, an appraisal waiver is the federal system recognizes that the purchase price is what we consider to be more than fair and doesn't require an appraisal. So that's the first piece of the collateral picture is the value of the property. In a refinance transaction, maybe you won't need an appraisal, but we're still going to have a ballpark idea of how much that property is worth. The last piece of collateral is the actual structure of the home, making it all the more important to make sure that you're not skipping those inspections. And if you are, make sure that you're doing those with the helping hand of a realtor. Anytime you're taking on a loan, you are taking on a lien on that property, and if it falls over the day after you close, that's not good for a multitude of reasons, right, guys? So collateral is essentially the well-being of that property and the value of that property. Tez, tell us a little bit more about that third C, capacity.
Capacity, for those who haven't watched the video, we'll probably link it at the end. But capacity deals with the client's debt to income ratios, ladies and gentlemen. So, hello, folks. Future Tez here. And as I was editing this video, I noticed that past Tez made an error that I just wanted to correct real fast. So, he was talking about two different ratios that they look at when it comes to capacity. First is the front end ratio, aka the housing ratio. And the second ratio is the back end, aka the debts ratio, right? So when they come to calculate the front end ratio, it is your potential mortgage payment or your monthly mortgage expense versus your income, right? So let's say, for example, you make $120,000 salary, right? Your gross monthly income would be about $10,000, actually $10,000 on the nose. Now, let's say your potential mortgage payment moving forward is going to be $2,500. Now, for that front end ratio, what they do is they take that monthly mortgage payment and divide it by your gross monthly income, right? So that $2,500 divided by that $10,000 gives you 25%. All right. And now the second ratio that he's talking about is going to be the back end or your debts ratio. Now that ratio basically takes the monthly mortgage expense that we just calculated in the front end ratio, along with whatever debts that you're obligated to per your credit report. All right. So let's say you got a car, a couple of credit cards, and maybe an installment debt of some sort, right? And that totaled $1,000. Now the back end ratio would take that $2,500 mortgage payment that we just talked about, adding that to the $1,000 from your credit report, that brings a grand total of $3,500. And then what they do is they divide that by your gross monthly income, which is $10,000 still in this scenario. That gives you a back end ratio of 35% that they use to determine your qualifications for the loan. So I hope that clarified everything. I'm going to go ahead and throw it back to past Tez and Trav so they can take it from here. Travis, I kind of think that, I mean, it pretty much sums it up in that regards. Now, kind of touch base on that last one. I gave you the softball pitch on that last one. What is capital, my friend?
Capital is essentially the assets that you need to close your loan. Down payment, prepaid taxes, prepaid insurance, other closing costs like title. We hope that you're not paying a ton of lender closing costs because we have options here for you at Affordable Mortgage Partners that don't come with any lender costs. As a broker, we are, once again, paid by the lenders to find you the best options. But capital is quite simply that money in the bank, guys, not the cash in the mattress, not the cash buried in the backyard. That is the money that we can verify in those bank accounts, 401k, IRA. The only piece that's misunderstood quite often about capital is that oftentimes capital, when we're showing it to an underwriter or an underwriting system, the money that we're not using for the transaction is almost as important as the money we are. And what I mean by that is if Tez comes to me and he's looking to get a home, and I realize as an underwriter that Tez is spending every last dollar that he has, he will walk away from that closing with no money, depending on his credit, depending on the capacity. I may be required to prove that Tez has additional assets for reserves. So again, that capital can be down payment, closing costs, reserves. Think of it as the cushion in case something goes wrong in the future. No loan officer, no loan officer, no loan mortgage broker. None of us want to be responsible for you walking away from the closing table and not having a plan to make that an enjoyable mortgage, right? So capital, yes, absolutely a softball question, and I appreciate it. I hope that I hit it out of the park for you, Tess.
I mean, if I throw you a softball, you got to hit it out of the park, man. You got to. Ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't know, he used to play college ball, but he won't brag on that. So I think we pretty much wrapped up the 4 C's of home ownership, ladies and gentlemen. So as always, if this was helpful, if you thought this was valuable, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, as well as the bell notifications. So that way you're always updated on new content that we drop every Tuesdays and Fridays. But with that being said, I'm Tez, that's Travis, and we are your favorite LOs. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, see ya.